Hey there. Tonight, we're talking about how the most unremarkable career became the foundation for extraordinary wealth. Before you drift off, take a moment to like this video and subscribe, but only if this kind of transformative deep sleep hypnosis speaks to you. And let me know in the comments where you're tuning in from and how many days in a row you've been on this manifestation journey. I love seeing how committed this community is becoming. Now dim the lights, get comfortable, and let your mind absorb abundance. The porch chair creaks in exactly the same way it has for the past 7 years as you settle beside Harold on this warm Tuesday evening. The sound is familiar, predictable, like everything else about Harold's life. He's already positioned in his usual spot, a glass of room temperature water on the small table beside him, his reading glasses folded in their designated place, and his work briefcase sitting precisely where he places it every single evening at 6:47 p.m. Another Tuesday, Harold says, his voice carrying neither enthusiasm nor complaint, just the steady acknowledgement of someone who has watched 1,247 Tuesdays pass in almost identical fashion. You notice how his gray slacks are pressed with the same sharp crease as always, how his white shirt remains crisp despite the day's work, and how his brown leather shoes show the wear patterns of someone who walks the exact same routes day after day. The evening air carries the scent of Harold's neighbor's barbecue, the same neighbor who grills every Tuesday at precisely this time, creating a rhythm that Harold has unconsciously woven into his own routine. The sprinkler system across the street activates with its familiar mechanical click, beginning its predetermined cycle that Harold could time without looking at his watch. You know, Harold continues, adjusting his position in the chair with the practiced efficiency of someone who has performed this same movement thousands of times. People always ask me how I do it, how I wake up at 6:30 every morning, eat the same breakfast, take the same route to work, and sit at the same desk for 8 hours. They want to know how I don't go crazy with the repetition. He pauses, watching a familiar brown delivery truck make its predictable rounds through the neighborhood. The driver waves, the same wave he's given Harold every Tuesday for the past 3 years. Harold raises his hand in response, the gesture automatic and precise. What they don't understand, he says, settling back into his narrative rhythm, is that somewhere in all that sameness, I found something they're all desperately searching for. I found wealth, real wealth, the kind that builds slowly, steadily, like sediment creating layers of rock over centuries. You can feel the approaching coolness of evening beginning to settle around the porch, and Harold seems to sense it too. He reaches for a light cardigan that hangs on the same hook where it has hung every evening for the past 4 years. The motion is unhurried, deliberate, like someone who has learned to find profound satisfaction in the simple act of preparing for predictable temperature changes. Tomorrow will be Wednesday, Harold observes, stating what seems obvious, but carrying an undertone of deeper meaning. And I'll wake up at 6:30, just like I have for the past 8,372 days. I'll make my coffee, 2 scoops, no sugar, splash of milk, and I'll read the financial section of the newspaper while I eat my toast. 1 piece, lightly buttered, cut diagonally. The methodical recounting of his routine seems to bring Harold a sense of peace, as if the very act of acknowledging the patterns provides a foundation for something larger. You begin to sense that this apparent monotony might be the bedrock of something extraordinary. The alarm clock beside Harold's bed reads 6:30 a.m., just as it has every morning for the past 23 years. The sound is neither jarring nor gentle, simply functional, like everything else Harold has chosen for his carefully ordered life. His feet find the same spot on the hardwood floor, and his hands reach for the same pair of glasses on the nightstand without his eyes needing to fully open. Muscle memory, Harold explains as you follow him through his morning routine. Your presence somehow seamlessly integrated into the familiar rhythm of his day. When you do the same thing thousands of times, your body learns to operate on autopilot. That frees your mind for other things. The bathroom mirror reflects a face that has aged predictably, gray hair that he trims himself every third Sunday, lines that have deepened gradually around eyes that maintain a quiet alertness. Harold's shaving routine unfolds with the precision of a Swiss timepiece. Exactly 14 strokes with the razor, the same brand of shaving cream he has used since 1987, followed by the same aftershave that his father used before him. In the kitchen, Harold's movements flow with the efficiency of someone who has eliminated all unnecessary motion from his morning routine. The coffee maker, a simple model he purchased 12 years ago and has maintained meticulously, begins brewing at exactly 6:52 a.m. 2 scoops of the same medium roast coffee he orders from the same supplier every month. The timing allows the coffee to finish brewing just as his single piece of toast emerges from the toaster. People think routine is the enemy of success, Harold says, spreading butter on his toast with the same measured strokes he has used for decades. They believe you need constant change, constant stimulation, constant novelty to achieve anything meaningful. But they're looking in the wrong direction. You notice how Harold's briefcase sits by the front door, packed the night before with the same meticulous organization he applies to everything. His lunch, a turkey sandwich, an apple, and a small bag of pretzels, waits in the refrigerator in the same brown paper bag he has reused for the past 6 months. Nothing wasted, nothing left to chance. The drive to work follows Route 47 to Route 23, a path Harold selected 15 years ago after calculating that it provided the most consistent travel time regardless of weather or traffic conditions. Not the shortest route, not the most scenic, but the most reliable. His sedan, a practical model he replaces every 7 years, sits in the same parking spot that he has claimed through sheer consistency rather than any official assignment. Harold's office occupies a corner of the 3rd floor that most people would consider unremarkable. A desk that faces the window, providing natural light for detailed work. A filing system that has evolved over 2 decades into a model of organizational efficiency. 2 photographs, one of his parents, one of his small house, and nothing else that could be considered decorative. This is where it happens, Harold says, settling into his desk chair with the same practiced motion he performs every morning at exactly 8:15 a.m. This is where the magic occurs, though most people wouldn't recognize it as magic. The first client file of the day contains the tax information for a small restaurant owner who brings Harold the same shoebox full of receipts every year. Harold has prepared this particular return for the past 11 years, and he has developed such familiarity with the business patterns that he can spot anomalies immediately. A receipt for restaurant equipment that doesn't match the business's usual purchases. A deduction that seems unusually large for the established pattern. Mrs. Chen, Harold says, though she isn't present, has been claiming depreciation on equipment that should have been fully depreciated 3 years ago. She doesn't know it, but she's been overpaying her taxes by approximately $1,200 annually. You watch as Harold makes careful notes, preparing to call Mrs. Chen with the correction that will save her money and demonstrate the value of his methodical attention to detail. This same scenario plays out dozens of times throughout Harold's year. Small discoveries that result from his deep familiarity with patterns, his willingness to examine the same types of documents with fresh attention each time. The restaurant supply company receipt, Harold continues, holding up a small piece of paper, shows a purchase date that doesn't align with Mrs. Chen's usual ordering patterns. Most accountants would process it automatically, but I've been doing Mrs. Chen's taxes for 11 years. I know she always orders new equipment in March, never in September. This receipt represents a repair, not a purchase, which changes the tax treatment entirely. The morning progresses with Harold working through client files with the steady rhythm of someone who has found his optimal work pace. No rushing, no procrastination, just consistent forward progress. Each file receives the same careful attention, the same methodical review, the same commitment to accuracy that has built Harold's reputation, one satisfied client at a time. By 10:30 a.m., Harold has completed his first break of the day, exactly 15 minutes, during which he walks to the break room, drinks 1 cup of water, and reviews his progress against his daily goals. This break, like everything else in Harold's routine, serves multiple purposes. It provides physical rest, mental refreshment, and a checkpoint for ensuring his work remains on schedule. Compound consistency, Harold explains as he returns to his desk. Small, repeated actions that build on themselves over time. Most people underestimate the power of doing the same valuable thing repeatedly. They're always looking for the breakthrough, the innovation, the dramatic change. But wealth, real wealth, accumulates like interest, slowly at first, then exponentially. The phone rings at 10:47 a.m., Harold's assistant transferring a call from a potential new client. Harold's voice carries the same professional courtesy he has maintained for decades as he explains his services, his fees, and his approach to tax preparation. Nothing flashy, nothing aggressive, just steady competence, communicated with quiet confidence. I've been preparing tax returns for 23 years, Harold tells the caller. I know the tax code thoroughly. I maintain detailed records, and I guarantee my work. If you're looking for someone who will examine your financial situation carefully and find every legitimate deduction, I can help you. If you're looking for creative interpretations or shortcuts, you'll want to find someone else. This conversation, like hundreds of others Harold has conducted over the years, demonstrates his commitment to attracting the right kind of clients, people who value accuracy and reliability over promises of unrealistic savings. Harold's client base has grown steadily through referrals from satisfied customers who appreciate his methodical approach and conservative guidance. The lunch break arrives at exactly 12 p.m., and Harold retrieves his brown bag from the office refrigerator. He eats at his desk while reviewing industry publications, the same routine that has kept him current with tax law changes and accounting best practices for over 2 decades. The turkey sandwich tastes the same as always, which Harold finds comforting rather than boring. Consistency in small things creates space for focus on larger things. While other accountants attend expensive seminars and chase the latest software solutions, Harold explains between bites of his sandwich, I invest my continuing education time in understanding the fundamentals more deeply. Tax law changes, but the principles of careful record-keeping and accurate reporting remain constant. Master the basics, and the advanced concepts become much clearer. The afternoon brings a different type of client file, a small manufacturing company that Harold has worked with for the past 8 years. This business has grown significantly during their relationship, expanding from 3 employees to 12, from 1 location to 2. Harold's careful tracking of their financial patterns has allowed him to provide guidance that helped facilitate this growth. Expansion can be dangerous if you don't understand your cash flow patterns, Harold notes, reviewing the manufacturing company's quarterly reports. But when you have 8 years of detailed financial history, you can identify the seasonal fluctuations, the profit margins on different product lines, and the optimal timing for major purchases or investments. This deep familiarity with client businesses has made Harold more than just an accountant. He has become a trusted financial advisor whose insights are based on years of careful observation rather than generic recommendations. His methodical approach to understanding each business's unique patterns has created value that extends far beyond basic tax preparation. By 4:30 p.m., Harold has completed his planned work for the day and begins preparing for tomorrow's activities. He organizes client files in the order he will address them, reviews his calendar for any appointments or deadlines, and makes notes about follow-up items that require attention. This end-of-day routine ensures that each morning begins efficiently, without time wasted on planning or organization. The drive home follows the same route as the morning commute, and Harold's arrival at 5:43 p.m. marks the transition from his professional routine to his personal routine. The briefcase goes in its designated spot, the work clothes are changed for casual clothes, and the evening routine begins with the same predictable comfort as the morning routine. The transition from Harold's workday to his evening routine unfolds with the same methodical precision that characterizes every aspect of his life. At 5:45 p.m., he changes from his work clothes into comfortable khaki pants and a polo shirt, the same style he has worn for evening activities for the past 12 years. The work clothes are hung carefully in the closet, positioned exactly where they will be retrieved tomorrow morning. Efficiency isn't about rushing, Harold explains as he moves through his evening transition. It's about eliminating wasted motion, wasted time, and wasted mental energy. When you don't have to think about small decisions, you can focus your attention on the decisions that actually matter. The kitchen routine begins at exactly 6 p.m., with Harold preparing the same dinner he eats every Tuesday: baked chicken breast, steamed broccoli, and brown rice. The portions are measured precisely, not from obsessiveness, but from years of experience that have taught him exactly how much food provides optimal energy without excess. The cooking process follows a timing sequence that Harold has refined over hundreds of repetitions. While the chicken bakes for exactly 28 minutes, Harold uses the time to review his personal finances, a practice he has maintained every Tuesday evening for the past 15 years. The routine involves checking his bank balances, reviewing his investment accounts, and updating a simple spreadsheet that tracks his net worth progression over time. This is where people see the magic, Harold says, opening a laptop that contains spreadsheets documenting 23 years of financial data. But they don't understand that the magic is simply the result of doing ordinary things consistently over an extraordinary period of time. The spreadsheet reveals numbers that would surprise most people who know Harold casually. His net worth exceeds $2.3 million, accumulated not through dramatic investments or business ventures, but through the steady application of basic financial principles over more than 2 decades. The numbers show a progression that started modestly but has accelerated significantly in recent years due to the power of compound growth. When I started tracking my finances in 2001, Harold explains, scrolling through years of data, my net worth was negative $23,000. Student loans, car loan, credit card debt from furnishing my first apartment. Nothing unusual. Just the typical financial situation of someone starting their career. The early years of Harold's financial records show small, consistent contributions to a retirement account, gradual reduction of debt balances, and careful tracking of expenses that most people would consider insignificant. $5 saved on lunch by bringing food from home. $15 saved on entertainment by choosing free activities over paid ones, $27 saved on utilities through careful attention to energy usage. People told me I was being too conservative, too careful, too boring. Harold continues, highlighting cells that show monthly savings amounts that started at $200 and gradually increased over time. They said I should take more risks, invest in exciting opportunities, leverage my income to build wealth faster. But I had studied enough tax returns to see what happens to people who chase get-rich-quick strategies. Harold's investment approach reflects the same methodical consistency as every other aspect of his life. Instead of attempting to time the market or select winning stocks, he has contributed the same percentage of his income to the same diversified index funds every month for 23 years. The spreadsheet shows contributions made during market highs and market lows, during economic expansions and recessions, without deviation from his predetermined strategy. Dollar cost averaging, Harold explains, pointing to columns that show varying share prices over the years. When the market is high, my monthly contribution buys fewer shares. When the market is low, the same contribution buys more shares. Over time, this approach has delivered exactly the returns that historical data suggested it would deliver. The timer signals that the chicken has finished baking, and Harold pauses his financial review to complete his dinner preparation. The broccoli steams for exactly 4 minutes, while Harold portions the rice and prepares his plate with the same arrangement he has used for years. The laptop remains open beside his dinner plate, allowing him to continue reviewing his financial progress while eating. The acceleration happened around year 15, Harold notes, scrolling to more recent data that shows dramatic increases in net worth. That's when compound growth became visible. The money I had saved and invested in the early years had grown to the point where the investment returns exceeded my annual salary. My money was working harder than I was. This phenomenon, the point at which investment returns begin to exceed earned income, represents a crucial milestone that Harold reached not through any dramatic financial maneuver, but simply by maintaining his consistent savings and investment routine long enough for mathematics to work in his favor. The boring strategy had produced extraordinary results. Harold's evening routine continues with 30 minutes of reading, always financial or business-related material that expands his professional knowledge. Tonight, he's reviewing changes to tax regulations that will take effect next year, information that will help him serve his clients more effectively and maintain his reputation for staying current with industry developments. Continuous learning, Harold explains, making notes in the margins of a tax publication. But focused learning. I don't read randomly or chase whatever topic seems interesting at the moment. I read systematically, building depth in areas that directly relate to my professional effectiveness. The reading period is followed by Harold's daily review of tomorrow's schedule and priorities. He examines his calendar, reviews client files that require attention, and makes notes about any preparations needed for upcoming meetings or deadlines. This forward planning routine ensures that each day begins with clear direction and no time wasted on figuring out what needs to be accomplished. By 8:30 p.m., Harold has completed his structured evening activities and moves to the front porch for what he considers his relaxation time. The porch chair that creaked when you first joined him this evening has become a symbol of Harold's approach to life. Comfortable, familiar, positioned to provide the optimal view of his small but well-maintained world. This is when people think I'm being boring, Harold says, settling into his chair with a glass of water positioned on the small table at exactly the same angle as always. They see someone sitting in the same chair, in the same spot, following the same routine, and they assume nothing interesting is happening. But Harold's perspective on this evening routine reveals a different understanding of what constitutes interesting activity. The porch time provides an opportunity for reflection, for processing the day's experiences, and for maintaining the mental clarity that enables his continued effectiveness. The apparent inactivity serves multiple purposes that less methodical people might miss. Wealth accumulation requires patience, Harold observes, watching the same neighbors engage in the same evening activities they perform every Tuesday. It requires the ability to find satisfaction in small progress rather than dramatic breakthroughs. It requires understanding that boring consistency beats exciting inconsistency over any meaningful time period. The evening air carries the same familiar sounds: children playing in nearby yards, dogs barking their territorial announcements, the distant hum of traffic from the main road. Harold has listened to these same sounds for 7 years, and they have become part of a routine that provides stability and predictability in a world that often feels chaotic and uncertain. Most people are exhausted by the constant decisions they face every day, Harold continues, his voice taking on the relaxed tone that emerges during his porch time. What to wear, what to eat, which route to take to work, how to spend their free time. They use up their mental energy on choices that don't really matter, leaving little capacity for the decisions that could actually improve their financial situation. Harold's routine eliminates hundreds of small decisions, freeing his mental resources for the analysis and planning that have built his wealth systematically over time. The boring choices about clothing, food, and daily activities create space for the interesting work of building financial security and professional competence. As the evening progresses toward Harold's predictable bedtime, you begin to understand that his approach to life represents a sophisticated strategy disguised as simple routine. What appears boring from the outside contains layers of intentionality and purpose that most people never discover because they lack the patience to explore the depths of consistency. Harold's evening routine continues with the systematic preparation for the next day that has become as natural as breathing after 23 years of practice. At 9 p.m., he moves through his house performing the same series of small tasks that ensure tomorrow morning will begin smoothly. The coffee maker is prepared with fresh water and tomorrow's coffee measure. His work clothes are selected and positioned for easy retrieval. The briefcase is organized with the files and materials needed for Wednesday's activities. Preparation is the foundation of consistency, Harold explains, as he moves through these evening tasks with the efficiency of someone who has eliminated all unnecessary steps from the process. When you prepare thoroughly the night before, you eliminate the possibility of morning complications that could disrupt your routine or create stress. You notice how Harold's house reflects the same principles as his daily routine. Everything has a designated place, and everything remains in its designated place. The living room contains exactly what Harold needs for relaxation and nothing more. A comfortable chair positioned for optimal reading light, a side table at the perfect height for a glass of water, and a small bookshelf containing carefully selected financial and business publications. The bathroom preparation follows the same methodical approach as every other aspect of Harold's evening. Teeth brushed for exactly 2 minutes, using an electric toothbrush that signals when the recommended time has elapsed. Medications taken in the same order, from the same organizer that Harold refills every Sunday evening. Face washed with the same gentle cleanser he has used for 8 years, after determining it provides optimal results for his skin type. People think routine is limiting, Harold says as he performs these familiar tasks. They believe it prevents spontaneity or creativity. but I've found the opposite to be true. When the foundation of your life is solid and predictable, you have more freedom to be creative in the areas where creativity actually matters. Harold's bedroom reflects this philosophy: simple, functional, and organized to support quality sleep rather than serve as a showcase. The bed is made with the same precision every morning and turned down with the same care every evening. The room temperature is maintained at exactly 68 degrees, the optimal setting Harold determined through careful experimentation several years ago. The bedtime reading routine involves 15 minutes with a business biography, Harold's preferred genre, because it combines entertainment with professional development. Tonight, he's reading about an entrepreneur who built a manufacturing empire through careful attention to operational details and long-term strategic thinking. The parallels to Harold's own approach are evident, though the scale differs dramatically. Success stories often focus on the dramatic moments, Harold observes, closing the book at exactly 9:30 p.m. as he has done every evening for years. The breakthrough product, the crucial investment, the pivotal decision that changed everything. But those dramatic moments are usually built on years of boring preparation that nobody wants to read about. As Harold settles into bed, you begin to understand how his approach to sleep reflects the same intentionality as his approach to everything else. The bedroom is dark, quiet, and cool. Electronic devices are charging in another room to eliminate distractions. The mattress and pillows are replaced on a regular schedule to ensure optimal comfort and support. Sleep quality affects everything, Harold explains, as he adjusts his pillows to the precise arrangement that has proven most comfortable over years of experimentation. Cognitive function, decision-making ability, emotional regulation, physical health. If you're serious about building wealth over time, you need to be serious about maintaining the mental and physical capacity required for sustained high performance. Harold's sleep routine demonstrates the same systematic approach as every other aspect of his life. He goes to bed at the same time every night and wakes up at the same time every morning, maintaining a consistent sleep schedule that optimizes his natural circadian rhythms. The result is high-quality rest that enables the sustained focus and energy required for his methodical approach to wealth building. But Harold's story extends beyond the daily routines that have become second nature after decades of practice. The real wealth accumulation has occurred through his systematic approach to identifying and capitalizing on opportunities that less methodical people overlook completely. The tax law changes of 2018 created opportunities for small business owners to reduce their tax burden significantly, Harold says, his voice taking on the engaged tone that emerges when he discusses professional challenges that require his analytical skills. But most accountants treated these changes as complications to be managed rather than opportunities to be leveraged. Harold's response to the tax law changes demonstrates how his methodical approach creates competitive advantages that compound over time. While other accountants complained about the additional complexity, Harold spent 6 months studying the new regulations in detail, identifying specific strategies that could benefit his clients, and developing systematic approaches for implementing these strategies effectively. Mrs. Patterson owns a small consulting business that was perfectly positioned to benefit from the new pass-through deduction, Harold explains, describing one of dozens of situations where his detailed knowledge created significant value for clients. But the deduction required careful structuring of her business expenses and income timing. Most accountants would have applied the deduction automatically without optimizing the surrounding factors. Harold's systematic analysis of Mrs. Patterson's financial situation revealed opportunities to restructure certain business activities in ways that maximized her eligibility for the new deduction while maintaining compliance with all relevant regulations. The result was an additional $3,400 in tax savings annually, money that Mrs. Patterson now invests in business growth that generates additional revenue and creates more opportunities for tax optimization. This type of analysis requires time and attention that most accountants can't afford to provide, Harold continues. They're managing too many clients, chasing too many different opportunities, responding to too many urgent requests. But my systematic approach to client management allows me to provide deeper service to fewer clients, which creates more value for everyone involved. Harold's client base has evolved over 23 years from quantity-focused to quality-focused. Instead of accepting every potential client who contacts his office, Harold now selects clients whose business situations align with his expertise and whose commitment to systematic financial management matches his own approach. This selectivity has created a practice that generates higher revenue per client while requiring less total work time. The restaurant supply company I mentioned earlier, Harold says, referring to Mrs. Chen's business, has grown from 1 location to 4 locations during the 11 years I've prepared their taxes. That growth didn't happen by accident. It happened because Mrs. Chen consistently implemented the financial management strategies I recommended, built strong cash reserves through systematic saving, and made expansion decisions based on careful analysis rather than optimistic assumptions. Harold's role in Mrs. Chen's business growth demonstrates how his methodical approach creates value that extends far beyond basic tax preparation. By maintaining detailed financial records over many years, Harold can identify trends and patterns that enable more informed decision-making about business investments, operational changes, and strategic direction. The compound effect of Harold's systematic approach becomes visible when you examine the trajectory of his practice over 2 decades. Early clients who appreciated his thorough, conservative guidance have referred friends and family members who share similar values. These referrals have created a client base of business owners and individuals who understand the value of methodical financial management and are willing to pay for expertise that produces long-term results. My average client has been with me for 8 years, Harold notes with quiet satisfaction. Compare that to the industry average of 3 years, and you can see how systematic relationship building creates sustainable competitive advantages. Long-term clients generate more revenue, require less marketing expense, and provide more referrals than clients who change accountants frequently. This client retention rate reflects Harold's commitment to providing consistent, reliable service that meets client needs without creating artificial excitement or pursuing unsustainable growth. His practice has grown steadily through referrals from satisfied clients rather than through expensive marketing campaigns or aggressive sales strategies. As Harold's evening routine concludes and he prepares for sleep, the full scope of his systematic approach becomes clear. What appears boring from a surface perspective represents a sophisticated strategy for building wealth through the consistent application of proven principles over an extended time period. The routine provides the foundation for sustained high performance, while the systematic approach to professional development and client service creates competitive advantages that compound over time. Wednesday morning arrives with the same gentle inevitability as every other day in Harold's carefully structured life. The 6:30 a.m. alarm signals the beginning of another cycle in the routine that has generated wealth through its very predictability. But today, as you continue to observe Harold's methodical approach to life and work, the deeper patterns of wealth accumulation become increasingly visible beneath the surface of apparent monotony. Harold's morning routine unfolds with the same precise timing as always, but your understanding of its purpose has evolved. The 2 scoops of coffee, the single piece of toast, the route to work. These aren't arbitrary habits, but carefully chosen elements of a system designed to optimize mental clarity and decision-making capacity over the long term. Energy management, Harold explains as he drives the familiar route to his office, is more important than time management for building sustainable wealth. Most people focus on doing more things faster, but I've learned to focus on doing the right things consistently when my energy and attention are at their peak. Harold's office routine demonstrates this principle in action. The first 2 hours of his workday are reserved for the most challenging analytical tasks, reviewing complex tax situations, researching regulatory changes, and planning strategies for high-value clients. These activities require the sharp mental focus that Harold maintains through his systematic approach to sleep, nutrition, and stress management. Today's first priority involves analyzing a manufacturing client's financial situation to determine the optimal timing for a major equipment purchase. The decision will affect the company's tax liability for the current year and the next 3 years, making careful analysis essential for maximizing the long-term financial benefit. This equipment purchase will cost $180,000, Harold explains, spreading financial documents across his desk in the same organized pattern he has used for decades. But the timing of the purchase, the financing structure, and the depreciation method will determine whether the real cost is $180,000 or something significantly different. Harold's analysis reveals multiple scenarios with dramatically different financial outcomes. Purchasing the equipment in December allows the client to claim a full year's depreciation in the current tax year, reducing taxable income by $36,000. But financing the purchase rather than paying cash preserves working capital that can generate investment returns exceeding the loan interest rate. Most business owners would make this decision based on intuition or simple calculations, Harold continues, creating a spreadsheet that models different scenarios over a 5-year period. But systematic analysis reveals that the optimal approach saves approximately $23,000 in taxes and generates an additional $31,000 in investment returns compared to the obvious alternative. This type of analysis demonstrates how Harold's methodical approach creates value that justifies premium fees and generates client loyalty. The $54,000 benefit Harold identified through careful analysis far exceeds the cost of his services, making his systematic approach profitable for both Harold and his clients. The morning's second priority involves a more complex situation. A client who owns multiple rental properties and wants to restructure his business activities to take advantage of recent tax law changes. Harold has been working on this analysis for 3 weeks, examining different legal structures, depreciation strategies, and income timing scenarios.
Real estate taxation involves dozens of variables that interact in complex ways, Harold explains, reviewing a file that contains months of detailed calculations and research. Property type, financing structure, improvement timing, depreciation methods, ownership structure, and disposition planning all affect the ultimate tax burden and investment returns.
Harold's analysis has identified a restructuring strategy that will reduce the client's annual tax burden by approximately $18,000 while maintaining the same level of rental income and property appreciation potential. The strategy requires careful coordination between Harold, the client's attorney, and the property management company, but the long-term benefits justify the additional complexity. This type of comprehensive planning requires an accountant who understands how all the pieces fit together, Harold notes, highlighting sections of the tax code that apply to different aspects of the restructuring. Most accountants specialize in either business taxation or individual taxation, but real estate investors need someone who can optimize both simultaneously. Harold's expertise in multiple areas of taxation has developed through years of systematic study and practical application. Instead of chasing every new trend or technique, Harold has focused on building deep expertise in areas where his systematic approach creates the most value for clients. This specialization has made him one of the most knowledgeable accountants in the region for business owners with complex financial situations. The lunch break provides an opportunity to review Harold's own investment portfolio, a practice he performs every Wednesday to ensure his personal financial strategy remains aligned with his long-term goals. The portfolio has grown to $2.3 million through the same systematic approach Harold recommends to his clients: consistent contributions to diversified investments, careful attention to fees and taxes, and disciplined rebalancing to maintain target allocations. Portfolio maintenance, Harold explains, reviewing account statements that show steady growth over 23 years, requires the same systematic attention as any other wealth-building activity. Most people check their investments too frequently, creating emotional reactions that lead to poor decisions. But reviewing quarterly provides enough information to make necessary adjustments without overreacting to short-term market fluctuations. Harold's investment approach reflects his understanding that building wealth requires patience and discipline more than intelligence or luck. His portfolio contains the same basic components it has contained for over a decade: low-cost index funds that provide broad market exposure without the complexity and fees associated with actively managed investments. Harold observes, "The investment industry wants people to believe that building wealth requires sophisticated strategies and expert guidance," comparing his actual returns to various benchmark indices. But the data consistently shows that simple, systematic approaches produce better results than complex strategies over time periods longer than 10 years. Harold's investment returns have averaged 8.7% annually over the past 15 years, slightly exceeding the broad market return due to his systematic rebalancing strategy and his commitment to maintaining target allocations during both market highs and market lows. This performance has generated the compound growth that accelerated his wealth accumulation in recent years. The afternoon brings a consultation with a potential new client, a successful surgeon who has accumulated significant wealth through his medical practice, but lacks the financial organization necessary to optimize his tax situation and investment strategy. The consultation demonstrates how Harold's systematic approach attracts clients who value methodical analysis over dramatic promises. Most high-income professionals, Harold explains to the surgeon, focus on earning more money rather than optimizing the money they already earn. But systematic tax planning and investment management can increase your after-tax wealth by 20 to 30% without requiring any additional work income. Harold's analysis of the surgeon's financial situation reveals several opportunities for immediate improvement. The surgeon is paying unnecessary taxes due to poor timing of investment transactions. His retirement account contributions are not optimized for his tax bracket. His business structure creates additional tax burden that could be eliminated through simple reorganization. Implementation requires discipline and patience, Harold tells the surgeon, outlining a systematic approach for addressing each identified opportunity. These optimizations won't make you wealthy overnight, but they will accelerate your wealth accumulation significantly over the next 10 to 15 years. The surgeon's response demonstrates why Harold's practice has grown through referrals rather than aggressive marketing. Instead of promising unrealistic results or recommending complex strategies, Harold presents clear analysis of specific opportunities and realistic timelines for implementation. This approach attracts clients who value substance over style and understand that building wealth requires systematic effort over time. Harold's workday concludes with the same organizational routine that prepares him for tomorrow's activities. Files are organized, notes are updated, and priorities are established for Thursday's work. This systematic approach to closing each day ensures that no important details are forgotten and that each new day begins with clear direction. The drive home provides time for Harold to reflect on the day's accomplishments and identify any lessons that could improve his systematic approach to work and wealth building. Today's analysis work generated approximately $73,000 in value for clients through tax savings and optimization strategies. Harold's fees for this work totaled $4,200, creating significant value for clients while generating substantial income for his practice. Value creation, Harold reflects as he turns into his driveway at exactly 5:43 p.m., is the foundation of sustainable wealth building. Whether you're optimizing tax strategies for clients or managing your own investment portfolio, success comes from systematically identifying and implementing improvements that generate long-term benefits. Harold's evening routine begins with the same transition from work clothes to casual clothes, but tonight, you notice additional details that illustrate his systematic approach to personal maintenance and continuous improvement. The work clothes are inspected for wear or stains before being hung in the closet. The briefcase is cleaned and organized to maintain its professional appearance. Even these small maintenance tasks follow systematic procedures designed to extend the useful life of Harold's possessions while maintaining the professional image that supports his practice. Thursday evening finds Harold in his familiar position on the front porch, but tonight, his reflection carries a deeper appreciation for the systematic approach that has transformed his unremarkable career into extraordinary wealth. The porch chair creaks with the same familiar sound, but your understanding of what Harold has accomplished through sheer consistency has evolved dramatically over the past few days of observation. 23 years, Harold says, adjusting his position in the chair with the practiced efficiency that characterizes all his movements. 23 years of doing essentially the same thing every day. Most people would consider that a failure of imagination, a lack of ambition, a waste of potential. But I've learned that extraordinary results come from ordinary actions performed consistently over extraordinary periods of time. The evening air carries the same familiar sounds: children playing, dogs barking, the distant hum of traffic. But tonight, these sounds represent something different to you. They represent the stable, predictable environment that Harold has chosen to support his systematic approach to life and wealth building. Instead of pursuing excitement or novelty, Harold has embraced routine as the foundation for sustained high performance. My net worth increased by $180,000 last year, Harold continues, his voice carrying quiet satisfaction rather than excitement. Not because I made any dramatic investments or took any unusual risks, but because I maintained the same systematic approach to saving, investing, and client service that I've used for over 2 decades. The compound effect of consistent actions over time has reached the point where my wealth grows faster than I could spend it. Harold's financial success demonstrates a principle that most people understand intellectually, but few people implement practically: that small, consistent actions compound into extraordinary results over time. Harold's daily routine of careful work, systematic saving, and disciplined investing has generated wealth that exceeds what most people achieve through more dramatic strategies. The manufacturing client I've been working with, Harold explains, referring to the equipment purchase analysis from earlier in the week, called this afternoon to thank me for the analysis. The financing structure I recommended will save his company approximately $54,000 over 5 years compared to his original plan. He's referring to other business owners who need similar analytical work. This referral pattern illustrates how Harold's systematic approach creates sustainable competitive advantages. By providing thorough, conservative analysis that generates measurable results, Harold attracts clients who value substance over style and are willing to pay premium fees for expertise that produces long-term benefits. These clients become advocates who refer similar clients, creating organic growth that doesn't require expensive marketing or aggressive sales tactics. Most accountants compete on price or convenience, Harold observes, watching the same neighbor who grills every Tuesday now grilling on Thursday, maintaining his own version of routine. They try to process as many tax returns as possible during tax season, or they promise unrealistic tax savings to attract new clients. But I've built my practice around providing deep value to fewer clients, which creates more sustainable relationships and higher profit margins. Harold's approach to client service reflects the same principles as his approach to personal wealth building: consistency, patience, and focus on long-term results rather than short-term gains. This philosophy has created a practice that generates higher revenue per hour, worked while requiring less total time investment than traditional accounting practices. My average hourly rate has increased by 340% over the past 15 years, Harold notes. Not because I raised my prices arbitrarily, but because I systematically improved the value I provide to clients. Better analysis, deeper expertise, more comprehensive planning, and more reliable results justify higher fees and create client loyalty that reduces marketing expenses. The evolution of Harold's practice demonstrates how systematic improvement in any area of life creates compound benefits over time. By focusing on becoming better at his core competencies rather than diversifying into unrelated activities, Harold has built expertise that commands premium pricing while serving a client base that appreciates quality over quantity. Harold's personal investment portfolio has followed the same trajectory as his professional practice: steady, systematic growth that has accelerated in recent years due to the power of compound returns. The $2.3 million he has accumulated represents more than just savings and investment gains. It represents the financial freedom that comes from systematic wealth building over an extended time period. Financial independence, Harold explains, means having enough invested assets to generate the income needed to maintain your desired lifestyle without requiring continued work income. For most people, this requires accumulating 25 to 30 times their annual expenses in investment accounts. The systematic approach makes this achievable over a 20 to 25-year period for anyone with middle-class income and the discipline to save consistently. Harold's calculation shows that his current investment balance generates approximately $184,000 annually in passive income through dividends and capital appreciation, which exceeds his personal expenses by a comfortable margin. This means Harold could retire immediately and maintain his current lifestyle indefinitely without touching the principal balance of his investments. But retirement isn't my goal, Harold continues, because I enjoy the systematic challenge of helping clients optimize their financial situations. The work provides intellectual stimulation and social interaction while generating income that I can invest to create even more financial security. When you love your routine, retirement becomes less appealing than continued engagement with meaningful work. Harold's perspective on work and retirement illustrates how systematic approaches to life can create options that most people never consider. Instead of working because he needs the income, Harold works because he chooses to work. This distinction provides psychological benefits that enhance both work performance and life satisfaction. The conversation shifts to Harold's observations about wealth-building patterns among his clients over the past 2 decades. His unique perspective as an accountant who has worked with hundreds of business owners and high-income professionals has provided insights into the behaviors and strategies that consistently produce wealth accumulation. The clients who build the most wealth, Harold observes, share certain characteristics that have nothing to do with their income levels or business types. They save systematically regardless of their earnings. They make financial decisions based on analysis rather than emotions. They maintain detailed records that enable tax optimization and investment planning. And they think in terms of decades rather than years when making important financial choices. These observations reflect Harold's understanding that wealth-building success depends more on systematic behaviors than on income levels or investment sophistication. His wealthiest clients are often small business owners or professionals who earn modest incomes but apply systematic approaches to saving, investing, and tax planning over extended time periods. Mrs. Patterson, the consultant I mentioned earlier, Harold explains, earns approximately $85,000 annually from her business, but she saves 25% of her income systematically, invests in low-cost index funds, and implements every tax optimization strategy I recommend. Her net worth has increased by $340,000 over the 8 years I've worked with her, and she's on track to achieve financial independence within the next 12 years. Mrs. Patterson's success demonstrates that systematic wealth building doesn't require high income or sophisticated investment strategies. It requires the discipline to save consistently, the patience to allow compound growth to work over time, and the commitment to making financial decisions based on long-term benefits rather than short-term gratification. Harold's evening routine continues with his systematic review of tomorrow's priorities and his personal financial progress. Tonight's review reveals that his net worth has increased by approximately $23,000 during the current month due to investment appreciation and systematic savings contributions. This monthly increase exceeds what Harold earned annually during his first 3 years of professional practice. Compound growth, Harold reflects, is the most powerful force in wealth building, but it requires time to become visible. For the first 10 years of systematic saving and investing, the results seem modest because the account balances are small. But once the invested assets reach a certain threshold, the annual returns begin to exceed your annual contributions, and wealth accumulation accelerates dramatically. Harold's experience illustrates the patience required for systematic wealth building and explains why most people abandon their financial plans before achieving significant results. The early years of any systematic approach produce modest, visible results, making it easy to conclude that the strategy isn't working effectively. But persistence through this initial period creates the foundation for exponential growth in later years. As the evening progresses toward Harold's predictable bedtime routine, you begin to understand that his story represents more than just one person's approach to building wealth through systematic consistency. Harold's example demonstrates principles that could transform anyone's financial situation given sufficient time and discipline. The accountant stereotype, Harold says with a slight smile, suggests that we're boring people who lack imagination or ambition. But I've learned that systematic approaches to important areas of life create more freedom and more opportunities than undisciplined approaches that appear more exciting from the outside. Harold's systematic approach has created wealth that provides complete financial security, professional respect that generates premium fees, and personal satisfaction that comes from mastering a chosen field over an extended time period. These results demonstrate that boring consistency can produce extraordinary outcomes for anyone willing to embrace routine as a wealth-building strategy. Friday morning brings the completion of Harold's work week, but the routine that has generated millions in wealth shows no signs of variation or fatigue. The 6:30 a.m. alarm, the methodical breakfast preparation, the familiar drive to work, each element continues to serve its purpose in maintaining the systematic approach that has transformed Harold's ordinary career into extraordinary financial success. Sustainability, Harold explains as he settles into his office chair for the final day of another productive week, is the most underappreciated aspect of wealth building. People focus on maximizing returns or minimizing risks, but the most important factor is creating systems that you can maintain consistently for decades. The best financial strategy is useless if you can't stick with it long enough for compound growth to work. Harold's Friday routine involves completing the week's client work and preparing for next week's priorities. Today's focus includes finalizing the real estate restructuring plan for his property investor client and conducting a year-end tax planning session with a small business owner who wants to optimize his fourth quarter financial decisions. The real estate restructuring project demonstrates the value of Harold's systematic approach to complex financial planning. Over the past month, Harold has analyzed dozens of variables to identify the optimal legal structure, depreciation strategies, and income timing that will minimize his client's tax burden while preserving investment flexibility. Real estate taxation, Harold explains, reviewing the comprehensive analysis he has prepared, involves balancing current tax benefits against future tax obligations. Most accountants focus on minimizing this year's taxes without considering how those decisions affect taxes in future years. But systematic planning requires optimizing the total tax burden over the entire investment period. Harold's recommended restructuring will reduce his client's annual tax burden by $18,000 while maintaining the same rental income and property appreciation potential. The strategy involves creating a limited liability company to hold the properties, implementing cost segregation studies to accelerate depreciation deductions, and timing property improvements to maximize tax benefits. Implementation requires coordination between multiple professionals, Harold notes, outlining the steps needed to execute the restructuring plan. The client's attorney will handle the legal entity formation. The property management company will adjust their procedures to accommodate the new structure, and I'll handle all the tax reporting and compliance requirements. This type of comprehensive planning illustrates how Harold's systematic approach creates value that extends far beyond basic tax preparation. By taking responsibility for coordinating complex projects and ensuring proper implementation, Harold provides services that justify premium fees while creating long-term client relationships. The morning's second priority involves a year-end planning session with David, a successful contractor who owns a small construction company. David's business has grown significantly over the past 5 years, creating opportunities for tax optimization that require careful analysis and strategic implementation. Business growth, Harold explains to David, creates both opportunities and challenges for tax planning. Higher profits provide more flexibility for implementing optimization strategies, but they also create higher tax liabilities if those strategies aren't implemented properly. Harold's analysis of David's business shows several opportunities for reducing the current year's tax burden while positioning the company for continued growth. Equipment purchases can be timed to maximize depreciation benefits. Retirement plan contributions can be increased to reduce taxable income. Business expenses can be optimized to ensure maximum deductibility. The equipment purchase we discussed last month, Harold tells David, reviewing calculations that model different timing scenarios, will provide $31,000 in tax savings if completed before December 31st. But financing the purchase rather than paying cash will preserve working capital that can generate additional profits through expanded project capacity. David's response illustrates why Harold's systematic approach attracts successful business owners who understand the value of professional expertise. Instead of making financial decisions based on intuition or simple calculations, David relies on Harold's analytical capabilities to identify the optimal approach for his specific situation. Professional guidance, David says, costs money in the short term, but saves money in the long term. Harold's recommendations have reduced my tax burden by over $40,000 during the past 3 years, while helping me make better business decisions that have increased my profits significantly. This type of client feedback demonstrates how Harold's systematic approach creates measurable value that generates client loyalty and referrals. By focusing on long-term client success rather than short-term fee maximization, Harold has built a practice that provides both financial security and professional satisfaction. Harold's lunch break provides an opportunity to review his weekly progress against the systematic goals that guide both his professional practice and his personal wealth building. This week's client work generated approximately $8,400 in fees, while providing over $150,000 in combined tax savings and financial benefits for his clients. The value creation ratio demonstrates why Harold's systematic approach has produced sustainable competitive advantages. Client success, Harold reflects, is the foundation of professional success. When you systematically focus on creating measurable value for clients, the financial rewards follow naturally. But when you focus primarily on maximizing fees or processing volume, you create short-term relationships that require constant marketing to replace. Harold's approach to professional development follows the same systematic principles as his approach to wealth building. Instead of attending random seminars or pursuing trendy certifications, Harold focuses on building deeper expertise in areas where his analytical skills create the most value for clients. This specialized knowledge commands premium fees while serving a client base that appreciates quality over quantity. The afternoon brings Harold's weekly review of his personal investment portfolio, a systematic practice that ensures his wealth-building strategy remains aligned with his long-term financial goals. Today's review reveals that his portfolio has appreciated by approximately $18,000 during the current week due to favorable market conditions and the continued compound growth of his systematic investment contributions. Portfolio management, Harold explains, examining account statements that document 23 years of systematic investing, requires the same discipline as any other wealth-building activity. Regular contributions regardless of market conditions, systematic rebalancing to maintain target allocations, and patient focus on long-term results rather than short-term fluctuations. Harold's investment approach has produced an average annual return of 8.7% over the past 15 years, generating the compound growth that has accelerated his wealth accumulation in recent years. The systematic approach has eliminated the emotional decision-making that destroys investment returns for most individual investors. Market timing, Harold observes, comparing his actual returns to various timing strategies that promise superior results, is impossible to execute successfully over extended time periods. But systematic investing, making regular contributions regardless of market conditions, captures the long-term growth of the economy without requiring any ability to predict short-term market movements. Harold's investment success demonstrates that building wealth through systematic investing doesn't require sophisticated analysis or expert market timing. It requires the discipline to save consistently, the patience to allow compound growth to work over time, and the commitment to maintaining investment strategies during both favorable and unfavorable market conditions. As Harold's work week concludes, he performs the same systematic review and preparation routine that ensures each week builds effectively on the previous week's progress. Client files are organized, notes are updated, and priorities are established for Monday's activities. This systematic approach to weekly transitions ensures that no important details are forgotten and that each new week begins with clear direction. The drive home provides time for Harold to reflect on the week's accomplishments and the systematic progress he continues to make toward his long-term financial and professional goals. This week's client work has generated significant value for business owners and individuals who appreciate systematic approaches to financial optimization. Harold's own wealth has increased by approximately $29,000 during the week through continued investment appreciation and systematic savings contributions. Weekly progress, Harold reflects as he turns into his driveway at exactly 5:43 p.m., may seem modest when viewed in isolation, but systematic progress compounds over time to produce extraordinary results. Most people underestimate what they can accomplish in 20 years and overestimate what they can accomplish in 2 years. Harold's evening routine begins with the same transition from work clothes to casual clothes, but tonight his preparation includes planning for the weekend activities that support his systematic approach to life and wealth building. Tomorrow morning will bring his weekly household maintenance routine: laundry, cleaning, grocery shopping, and financial record updating. These activities may appear boring, but they serve essential functions in maintaining the organized foundation that enables Harold's continued success. Weekend routines, Harold explains as he changes clothes, are as important as weekday routines for maintaining systematic approaches to life and wealth building. The discipline to maintain organized living spaces, updated financial records, and planned activities creates the foundation for sustained high performance during the work week. Harold's weekend activities reflect the same systematic principles as his professional and investment activities. Tasks are planned in advance, executed efficiently, and designed to support long-term goals rather than provide short-term entertainment. This approach may appear boring to people who seek constant stimulation, but it provides the stability and predictability that enable sustained wealth building over decades. The porch routine begins earlier than usual tonight, providing additional time for Harold to reflect on the systematic principles that have guided his transformation from a struggling young accountant to a millionaire professional with complete financial security. The familiar chair, the predictable view, the comfortable routine, all represent choices Harold has made to prioritize substance over style and long-term results over short-term excitement. Systematic success, Harold observes as the evening settles around his well-ordered world, requires accepting that boring consistency produces better results than exciting inconsistency over any meaningful time period. Most people understand this principle intellectually, but few people have the discipline to implement it practically over the extended time periods required for extraordinary results. Saturday morning arrives with the same gentle precision as every other day in Harold's systematically structured life, but weekends follow a different rhythm designed to support the weekly routines that have generated his extraordinary wealth. At 7 a.m., 30 minutes later than his weekday schedule, Harold begins the systematic household maintenance activities that keep his personal environment organized and efficient. Weekend routines, Harold explains as he moves through his Saturday morning checklist, serve different purposes than weekday routines, but they're equally important for maintaining the systematic foundation that enables sustained high performance. Personal organization, financial record maintenance, and strategic planning require dedicated time that the work week doesn't provide. Harold's laundry routine demonstrates the same methodical efficiency as every other aspect of his life. Clothes are sorted by fabric type and color, washed with precise detergent measurements, and folded according to a system that maximizes storage efficiency while minimizing wrinkles. The entire process requires exactly 90 minutes from start to finish, allowing Harold to complete other activities while the machines operate. The grocery shopping expedition follows a systematic approach developed over years of experience. Harold's shopping list is organized according to the store layout, minimizing travel time and reducing the possibility of forgotten items. Brand preferences reflect careful analysis of quality, nutrition, and cost, rather than impulse purchases or marketing influence. Systematic shopping, Harold explains as he selects the same breakfast items he has purchased weekly for the past 6 years, eliminates decision fatigue while ensuring consistent nutrition and cost control. Most people spend unnecessary time and money on food purchases because they shop randomly instead of following systematic approaches based on established preferences and nutritional goals. Harold's food choices reflect the same long-term thinking that guides his financial and professional decisions. Instead of optimizing for immediate taste satisfaction, Harold selects foods that provide sustained energy, support cognitive function, and maintain physical health over time. This approach may appear boring compared to adventurous eating, but it serves essential functions in maintaining the mental and physical capacity required for sustained wealth building. The weekly financial record update represents one of Harold's most important Saturday activities. This systematic review ensures that all income, expenses, and investment transactions are properly categorized and recorded for tax planning and financial analysis purposes. The process requires approximately 2 hours and provides comprehensive visibility into Harold's financial progress. Financial record maintenance, Harold explains, opening the laptop that contains 23 years of detailed financial data, is the foundation of effective wealth building. You cannot optimize what you do not measure, and you cannot measure what you do not record systematically. Most people fail to build wealth because they lack the detailed financial information needed to make informed decisions. Today's financial update reveals that Harold's net worth has increased by $47,000 during the current month due to investment appreciation, systematic savings contributions, and business income from his accounting practice. This monthly increase represents more money than Harold earned annually during his first 4 years of professional practice, demonstrating the compound effect of systematic wealth building over extended time periods. Harold's investment portfolio has reached $2,347,000, generating approximately $188,000 in annual passive income through dividends and capital appreciation. This passive income exceeds Harold's personal expenses by a comfortable margin, confirming his achievement of complete financial independence through systematic saving and investing over 23 years. Financial independence, Harold reflects, reviewing the progression of his net worth over the past decade, transforms your relationship with work and money. Instead of working because you need the income, You work because you choose to work. Instead of worrying about financial security, you focus on optimizing the wealth you've already accumulated. The psychological benefits of financial independence are as valuable as the financial benefits. Harold's systematic approach to record keeping extends beyond basic income and expense tracking to include detailed analysis of investment performance, tax optimization opportunities, and long-term financial planning. This comprehensive approach provides the information needed to make informed decisions about asset allocation, tax strategies, and retirement planning. The Saturday afternoon routine includes Harold's weekly review of professional development materials, financial publications, tax regulation updates, and business management resources that maintain his expertise in areas where his systematic approach creates the most value for clients. This continued learning ensures that Harold's knowledge remains current and comprehensive. Professional development, Harold explains, reviewing the latest issue of a tax planning journal, requires the same systematic approach as wealth building. Random learning produces random results, but systematic learning focused on areas of specialization builds expertise that commands premium compensation and creates sustainable competitive advantages. Harold's approach to professional development reflects his understanding that expertise in any field requires continuous learning and systematic skill building over extended time periods. Instead of pursuing trendy topics or general business knowledge, Harold focuses on building deeper expertise in areas where his analytical skills and systematic approach create the most value for clients. The weekly client review represents Harold's systematic approach to relationship management and business development. Each client file is examined to identify opportunities for additional services, upcoming deadlines that require attention, and potential issues that need proactive management. This systematic approach ensures that client needs are anticipated and addressed before they become problems. Client relationship management, Harold notes, reviewing files that document years of systematic service to business owners and individuals who appreciate thorough, conservative financial guidance, requires the same attention to detail as tax preparation or investment management. Systematic attention to client needs creates loyalty and referrals that generate sustainable business growth without expensive marketing campaigns. Harold's client base has grown from 12 clients in his first year of practice to 47 clients today, but the growth has been carefully managed to ensure that service quality remains high while profit margins continue to improve. This selective approach to client acquisition has created a practice that generates higher revenue per client while requiring less total work time. The Saturday evening routine provides time for Harold to reflect on the systematic principles that have guided his transformation from financial struggle to extraordinary wealth over the past 2 decades. Tonight, as you observe Harold's weekend activities, the full scope of his systematic approach becomes visible in ways that the weekday routine only partially revealed. Systematic living, Harold observes as he settles into his familiar porch chair for the evening relaxation period, extends beyond financial and professional activities to include personal organization, health maintenance, and relationship management. Every aspect of life benefits from systematic approaches that prioritize long-term results over short-term gratification. Harold's house reflects the same systematic principles as his financial portfolio and professional practice. Every item has a designated location, and every location serves a specific purpose in maintaining the organized environment that supports Harold's continued effectiveness. The apparent simplicity disguises sophisticated systems that eliminate wasted time, reduce decision fatigue, and maintain the mental clarity required for complex analytical work. Most people, Harold continues, confuse systematic living with rigid living, but there's an important distinction. Rigid systems break under pressure, while systematic approaches adapt to changing circumstances while maintaining their essential structure. My routines have evolved significantly over 23 years, but the underlying principles of consistency, organization, and long-term thinking have remained constant. Harold's weekend routine demonstrates this adaptability. The basic structure remains consistent, but specific activities are adjusted based on seasonal needs, client requirements, and personal priorities. This flexibility within structure provides the stability needed for sustained high performance, while accommodating the inevitable changes that occur over extended time periods. As Saturday evening progresses toward Harold's systematic bedtime routine, you begin to understand that his weekend activities serve essential functions in maintaining the systematic foundation that has generated his extraordinary wealth. The household maintenance, financial record updates, and professional development activities may appear boring compared to more exciting weekend options, but they provide the organized foundation that enables Harold's continued success. Weekend preparation, Harold explains, as he performs the same systematic review of tomorrow's activities that he conducts every Saturday evening, determines the effectiveness of the following week's activities. When you use weekend time systematically to maintain personal organization and plan upcoming priorities, you create conditions that enable peak performance during the work week. Harold's Sunday routine will include meal preparation for the upcoming week, final review of Monday's client priorities, and personal activities that provide relaxation while maintaining the systematic structure that supports his continued wealth building. These activities may appear mundane, but they serve essential functions in maintaining the comprehensive system that has transformed Harold's ordinary career into extraordinary financial success. Sunday morning brings the final component of Harold's systematic approach to life and wealth building, the weekly preparation routine that ensures each new week begins with optimal organization and clear priorities. At 7:30 a.m., Harold begins the methodical activities that support his systematic approach to professional effectiveness and continued wealth accumulation. Weekly preparation, Harold explains as he begins his Sunday morning routine, is the foundation of systematic success in any area of life. When you use one day each week to organize, plan, and prepare for the upcoming week's activities, you eliminate the stress and inefficiency that result from daily improvisation and reactive decision-making. Harold's meal preparation routine demonstrates systematic thinking applied to nutrition and time management. He prepares 5 days' worth of lunches using the same basic components arranged in slightly different combinations to provide variety while maintaining nutritional consistency and preparation efficiency. The process requires exactly 90 minutes and eliminates the daily decision-making that consumes mental energy throughout the work week. Nutrition planning, Harold explains, as he portions turkey, vegetables, and complex carbohydrates into containers designed for optimal storage and transport, affects cognitive function, energy levels, and decision-making capacity throughout the week. Systematic meal preparation ensures consistent nutrition while eliminating the time and mental energy required for daily food decisions. Harold's approach to meal preparation reflects the same long-term thinking that guides his financial and professional activities. Instead of optimizing for convenience or variety, Harold focuses on foods that provide sustained energy and cognitive support while minimizing preparation time and cost. This systematic approach may appear boring compared to spontaneous dining choices, but it serves essential functions in maintaining peak performance. The weekly financial planning session represents Harold's systematic approach to optimizing his continued wealth accumulation and tax management. Today's session includes reviewing the previous week's business income, updating tax planning projections for the current year, and analyzing investment performance against long-term financial goals. Weekly financial review, Harold explains, opening spreadsheets that track every aspect of his financial situation in detailed categories, provides the information needed to make informed decisions about spending, saving, investing, and tax planning. Most people review their finances monthly or quarterly, but weekly review enables more precise optimization and earlier identification of issues that require attention. Today's financial review reveals that Harold's business generated $8,400 in fees during the previous week, while his investment portfolio appreciated by $23,000 due to favorable market conditions. His systematic savings rate continues at 35% of income, with additional contributions to tax-advantaged retirement accounts that reduce his current tax burden while building long-term wealth. Harold's systematic approach to tax planning has enabled him to optimize his effective tax rate through legal strategies that most people overlook due to lack of systematic planning. Business expense optimization, retirement account maximization, and investment timing strategies have reduced Harold's tax burden by approximately $31,000 annually compared to basic tax preparation without systematic planning. Tax optimization, Harold notes, reviewing calculations that model different scenarios for the remainder of the current tax year, requires systematic planning throughout the year rather than last-minute preparation during tax season. Most people pay unnecessary taxes because they make financial decisions without considering the tax implications. But systematic tax planning can reduce your effective tax rate significantly without requiring any questionable strategies. The weekly client preparation routine involves Harold's systematic review of upcoming client appointments, pending projects, and follow-up activities that require attention during the coming week. This systematic approach ensures that client needs are anticipated and addressed proactively rather than reactively, creating the exceptional service quality that generates client loyalty and referrals. Client service excellence, Harold explains, reviewing files that document ongoing projects and upcoming deadlines for each of his 47 clients, requires systematic attention to detail and proactive communication. Most professionals operate reactively, responding to client requests and problems as they arise. But systematic client management anticipates needs and prevents problems before they occur. Harold's systematic approach to client relationship management has created a practice where clients rarely experience service problems or communication breakdowns. This reliability has generated a client retention rate of 94% over the past 5 years, far exceeding the industry average and creating stable revenue that supports continued business growth without expensive marketing campaigns. The Sunday afternoon routine includes Harold's weekly review of professional development goals and systematic skill-building activities. This week's focus involves studying recent changes to depreciation regulations that affect several of his business clients. Harold's systematic approach to professional development ensures that his expertise remains comprehensive and current. Professional expertise, Harold observes, reviewing technical materials that most people would find extraordinarily boring, requires systematic maintenance and continuous improvement. Tax regulations change frequently, business practices evolve constantly, and client needs become more sophisticated over time. Systematic professional development ensures that your expertise grows faster than the complexity of your professional challenges.
Harold's commitment to systematic professional development has built expertise that commands premium fees while serving clients whose complex financial situations require sophisticated analysis and strategic planning. This specialization has created sustainable competitive advantages that generate higher profit margins while providing more interesting and challenging work. The weekly house maintenance routine demonstrates Harold's systematic approach to personal environment management. Tasks are scheduled based on optimal frequency rather than perceived urgency, ensuring that maintenance needs are addressed before they become problems. This systematic approach maintains Harold's living environment in optimal condition while minimizing the time and cost required for home ownership. Environmental organization, Harold explains as he performs cleaning and maintenance tasks with the same methodical efficiency that characterizes all his activities, affects mental clarity, emotional well-being, and overall effectiveness. Systematic home maintenance creates living spaces that support peak performance rather than drain energy through disorganization or deferred maintenance issues. Harold's house reflects 23 years of systematic organization and maintenance. Every system functions optimally, every space serves its intended purpose efficiently, and every item has a designated location that supports easy access and storage. The apparent simplicity disguises sophisticated organization that eliminates wasted time and reduces stress. As Sunday evening arrives, Harold begins his systematic preparation for Monday morning and the new week's activities. Work clothes are selected and prepared. The briefcase is organized with files and materials needed for Monday's client appointments, and Harold's schedule is reviewed to ensure optimal time allocation for the week's priorities. Weekly transition, Harold explains as he performs these familiar preparation activities, determines the effectiveness of Monday morning and sets the tone for the entire week. When you prepare systematically on Sunday evening, Monday morning begins with clear direction and organized execution rather than stress and improvisation. Harold's systematic approach to weekly transitions has eliminated the Monday morning stress that affects most professionals. Instead of beginning each week with uncertainty about priorities or scrambling to organize materials, Harold starts each Monday with complete clarity about the week's objectives and systematic preparation that enables efficient execution. The Sunday evening reflection period provides Harold with an opportunity to review the systematic principles that have guided his transformation from financial struggle to extraordinary wealth over the past 23 years. Tonight, as you observe the conclusion of Harold's weekly routine, the comprehensive nature of his systematic approach becomes fully visible. Systematic living, Harold reflects as he settles into his porch chair for the final time this week, requires understanding that every aspect of life affects every other aspect. Financial success depends on professional effectiveness, which depends on personal organization, which depends on systematic approaches to health, nutrition, and environmental management. You cannot optimize one area while neglecting others. Harold's systematic approach has created what business theorists call systemic competitive advantages, interconnected systems that reinforce each other to produce results that exceed the sum of their individual components. Harold's professional expertise supports his client service excellence, which generates the income that funds his systematic investment strategy, which provides the financial security that enables continued focus on professional development and client service. Most people, Harold continues, try to improve their financial situation through dramatic changes, new jobs, risky investments, entrepreneurial ventures, or lifestyle modifications that require unsustainable levels of motivation and discipline.
but systematic approaches create sustainable improvements that compound over time without requiring heroic efforts or perfect execution. Harold's story demonstrates that extraordinary wealth can result from ordinary activities performed consistently over extraordinary periods of time. The systematic approach that has generated his $2.3 million net worth doesn't require special talents, unusual opportunities, or exceptional market timing. It requires the discipline to maintain beneficial routines long enough for compound effects to produce remarkable results. As Sunday evening progresses toward Harold's systematic bedtime routine, you understand that his transformation from struggling accountant to wealthy professional represents more than one person's success story. Harold's experience demonstrates principles that could transform anyone's financial situation given sufficient time and systematic implementation. The boring career of a millionaire accountant, Harold says with quiet satisfaction, illustrates that systematic approaches to ordinary work can produce extraordinary results. Most people are looking for exciting opportunities or breakthrough strategies, but sustainable wealth comes from systematic execution of proven principles over extended time periods. Harold's systematic bedtime routine begins at exactly 9:30 p.m., just as it has every night for the past 7 years. The routine includes 30 minutes of reading, 15 minutes of personal reflection, and systematic preparation for Monday morning's activities. This consistent sleep schedule supports the cognitive function and physical energy that enable Harold's continued effectiveness throughout each week. Sleep optimization, Harold explains as he prepares for bed with the same methodical approach he applies to every other aspect of his life, is the foundation of systematic success in any area. When you maintain consistent sleep patterns that support optimal cognitive function, you create the mental clarity and physical energy needed for sustained high performance over extended time periods. As Harold settles into bed and you prepare to conclude your week-long observation of his systematic approach to life and wealth building, the comprehensive nature of his transformation becomes clear. Harold has not simply stumbled into financial success through luck or exceptional circumstances. He has systematically built wealth through disciplined application of proven principles over more than 2 decades. Harold's story demonstrates that anyone willing to embrace systematic approaches to financial management, professional development, and personal organization can achieve similar results given sufficient time and consistency. The boring career of this millionaire accountant provides a roadmap that others can follow to transform their own ordinary careers into extraordinary wealth. Tomorrow morning will bring another Monday, another week of systematic progress toward Harold's continued financial goals. The 6:30 a.m. alarm will signal the beginning of another cycle in the routine that has generated millions through its very predictability. And Harold will continue demonstrating that systematic consistency produces better results than exciting inconsistency over any meaningful time period. The compound effect of Harold's systematic approach will continue generating wealth that grows faster than he can spend it, professional respect that commands premium fees, and personal satisfaction that comes from mastering chosen fields over extended time periods. His boring career will continue producing extraordinary results through the simple power of systematic consistency applied to ordinary activities over extraordinary periods of time. As you drift into sleep alongside Harold's methodical bedtime routine, you carry with you the understanding that wealth building doesn't require drama, excitement, or exceptional circumstances. It requires the patience to execute proven strategies consistently over the time periods necessary for compound effects to produce remarkable results. Harold's bedroom has grown quiet now, filled only with the gentle rhythm of his breathing and the distant sounds of Sunday evening settling into night. His reading glasses rest in their designated spot on the nightstand, positioned exactly where they have been placed every evening for the past 7 years. The book he finished reading, a technical analysis of tax optimization strategies for small businesses, sits closed beside the lamp that will illuminate tomorrow morning's routine at exactly 6:30 a.m. The systematic approach that has generated Harold's extraordinary wealth doesn't pause during sleep. Even his rest follows patterns designed to optimize recovery and cognitive function. The room temperature remains at precisely 68 degrees, the optimal setting Harold determined through careful experimentation. The blackout curtains block all external light, creating conditions that support deep, restorative sleep. The comfortable mattress, replaced on schedule every 8 years, provides the physical support needed for quality rest. Sleep quality, Harold had explained earlier, affects every aspect of systematic success. When you compromise on rest, you compromise on cognitive function, decision-making ability, and the energy needed for sustained high performance. Systematic approaches to sleep create the foundation for systematic approaches to everything else. Harold's commitment to sleep optimization demonstrates the comprehensive nature of his systematic approach to life. Just as he maintains detailed financial records and follows methodical work routines, Harold has systematized his rest to ensure maximum recovery and mental clarity for each new day's challenges and opportunities. The house around Harold reflects the same systematic organization that characterizes every aspect of his life. Each room serves its intended purpose efficiently, with no wasted space or unnecessary items. The kitchen contains exactly what Harold needs for his meal preparation routines. The office maintains his professional files in perfect order. The living room provides comfortable space for reading and reflection without distractions or clutter. This systematic approach to environmental management has created living spaces that support Harold's continued effectiveness rather than drain energy through disorganization or maintenance issues. The apparent simplicity disguises years of thoughtful organization and systematic maintenance that keeps everything functioning optimally. As Harold's breathing settles into the deep rhythms of sleep, his systematic approach continues working in ways that most people never consider. His investments continue generating returns through compound growth that operates independently of his conscious attention. His reputation for reliable, thorough service continues attracting referrals from satisfied clients who value systematic excellence over flashy promises. The systematic principles that Harold has applied to build his wealth work continuously, creating value and generating returns even while he sleeps. This is the ultimate power of systematic approaches. They create momentum that continues producing results without requiring constant conscious effort or perfect execution. Harold's transformation from financial struggle to millionaire status didn't happen overnight, and it didn't happen through dramatic events or lucky breaks. It happened through the steady accumulation of small advantages, consistently applied over an extended time period. Each systematic choice built upon previous systematic choices, creating compound benefits that eventually produced extraordinary results. The $2.3 million that Harold has accumulated represents more than just money in investment accounts. It represents financial freedom, professional respect, and personal satisfaction that come from mastering systematic approaches to wealth building over more than 2 decades. Harold's boring career has produced results that most people would consider remarkably exciting. As the night deepens around Harold's systematic household, you begin to understand that his story offers hope and guidance for anyone willing to embrace systematic approaches to their own financial development. Harold started with nothing more than student debt and entry-level accounting skills. His transformation required no special talents, unusual opportunities, or exceptional market conditions. What Harold's transformation required was patience, discipline, and systematic commitment to proven principles over the time periods necessary for compound effects to produce significant results. These requirements are within reach of anyone willing to prioritize long-term wealth building over short-term gratification and excitement. Harold's systematic approach to client service will continue generating premium fees and loyal relationships that support continued business growth. His systematic investment strategy will continue producing compound returns that accelerate his wealth accumulation. His systematic approach to professional development will continue building expertise that commands higher compensation and more interesting work opportunities. The boring consistency that characterizes Harold's daily routine will continue producing exciting results through the simple power of systematic execution applied to ordinary activities over extraordinary time periods. Harold's story demonstrates that sustainable wealth comes not from dramatic breakthroughs, but from systematic persistence applied to fundamental principles. Tomorrow morning will bring another opportunity for Harold to demonstrate that extraordinary results emerge from ordinary activities performed with systematic consistency. The 6:30 a.m. alarm will signal the beginning of another day in the routine that has generated millions through its very predictability. Harold will continue proving that systematic approaches to wealth building produce better results than exciting approaches over any meaningful time period. As you settle into your own rest, surrounded by the quiet wisdom of Harold's systematic world, you carry with you the understanding that wealth building is neither mysterious nor impossible. It requires systematic application of proven principles over extended time periods, but it doesn't require exceptional intelligence, unusual opportunities, or perfect market timing. Harold's boring career has become the foundation for extraordinary wealth through systematic consistency applied to ordinary professional activities. His methodical approach to saving, investing, and client service has created compound benefits that continue accelerating his financial progress with each passing year. The systematic principles that Harold has mastered, consistent saving, methodical investing, thorough professional service, and systematic personal organization, are available to anyone willing to embrace boring consistency over exciting inconsistency. Harold's transformation from struggling accountant to millionaire professional provides a roadmap that others can follow to achieve similar results. The gentle rhythm of Harold's breathing fills his systematically organized bedroom as another Sunday concludes and another Monday approaches. His systematic approach to wealth building continues working through the night, generating compound returns and building the foundation for continued financial growth. Harold's boring career has produced remarkable results through the simple power of systematic consistency, and tomorrow will bring another opportunity to continue this extraordinary transformation through ordinary means. In the quiet of Harold's methodical household, surrounded by the organized simplicity that supports systematic success, you understand that wealth building doesn't require drama or excitement. It requires patience, discipline, and systematic commitment to proven approaches over the time periods necessary for compound effects to transform ordinary careers into extraordinary financial achievements. Harold's story demonstrates that anyone willing to embrace systematic consistency can achieve similar results through the boring but powerful strategy of systematic wealth building.